Welcome to Agents of Screen, the first and only place to come to for movie reviews live at the cinema. We've just finished watching Blue Story, the highly anticipated Blue Story, directed by the one and only Rapman, who also was responsible for S.C.R.E.E.N's story, which is available on YouTube. If you haven't seen, go check that. But right off the bat, let's get into it. I'll come clean. I'll feel kind of weird like reviewing this film.
Why?
Because it's a UK film, it's almost like they're very familiar. So like one of the man them doing the film, so it's almost you don't want to critique it too harshly because you know it's their first feature film.
You want him to do well.
You want them to do well. You go to support it, etc. But you know, to keep the integrity of the channel, you have to judge it fairly, as we will do.
Yeah, we will.
So speaking of which, what's your first impressions of Blue Story?
My first impressions is I was very interested to see how similar this is going to be to the Blue Story he did back in YouTube back in 2013, 14, I think, part 1, part 2.
Or you watched it before you seen this film,
I watched that on the back of S.C.R.E.E.N. Obviously, S.C.R.E.E.N story was a massive, huge phenomenon. So obviously I looked into Rapman a bit more, checked out Blue Story, which he done before S.C.R.E.E.N. The story is pretty much exactly the same, so that was quite interesting to see. First impressions though, overall I think I enjoyed the film. I need to reflect a little bit to see or to think whether he achieved what he was trying to achieve in terms of the message he's trying to get across. We'll get into it later.
I'm the opposite in terms of I did not see Blue Story before I watched this. So you may have a more accurate representation of how the YouTube video in 2013 compares to the feature-length film in 2019 as we're filming this. But my first impression is I enjoyed it overall. I do have some qualms with it, but with the overall experience, I think he done a good job.
Yeah, of course, for sure. For sure.
Speaking of good, let's get into what we enjoyed about the film. What did you enjoy about the film, Adam?
Do you know what I enjoyed was the way that Rapman, although it's his first feature-length movie and what an achievement it is, he still stayed true to his roots and he ducked in and out with his musical narrative, which I was feeling a lot. You know, I just wish there was a bit more of that because I actually, S.C.R.E.E.N story, Blue Story on YouTube, that's the best part of me. The way he tells the story, like for my music, I like a narrative anyway. So for me, that's definitely a highlight. I thought the performances of some of the young guys in there was really good. So Bricka, he was a strong performance.
Michael Wolff.
Michael Wolff,
who was also in Top Boy.
And man like Akeem, big Akeem, he was jokes. I'd
like to
too
see
funny.
more of him actually.
Yeah, so would I. I mean, when they fast forward at a point in the film, no spoiler, they fast forward a little bit. I would have liked to have seen him more, how he was there. But I enjoyed those aspects of the movie.
Yeah, I can agree with the whole Rapman trademark style. I think it's a good tool to have because obviously by doing that you can set the scene for the film, set the story without telling it on screen. So you can tell them, okay, this is their situation, this is where they're living, this is how old they are, this is their story up till this point. Maybe in the latter parts of the film, maybe it didn't work as well, but I think it was a good thing that he stuck to his roots because in S.C.R.E.E.N's story, which is widely popular, that's what he used. So it's good that he stayed to his roots.
Yeah, 100% agree.
Coming into this film, I was worried. I was a bit skeptical. It might feel like a YouTube film. You know, because of the acting, the direction. I didn't feel that as much in this.
As much, but maybe a bit.
Maybe a slight bit.
I did feel like it's a real feature-length YouTube short video that the short vids that the man them do. It was like just a feature length of that.
Is that a good thing or a bad thing?
I don't think it's a bad thing at all. Because like you say, you want to judge it for a film and be fair to it and not just lean on the side of just supporting for supporting sake, for the ends and whatever. Because at the end of the day, that what he's done, he's taken a platform that young kids from these streets, from these ends can relate to, something that they can do, something that they can build on. You gotta think, this guy, he's picked up a mic, he's got a talent obviously, but he's picked up a mic, picked up a camera. Anyone can do that. Anyone can do that, It's showing so it's showing inspiration. So for that, it's a massive shout and huge credit. But another thing I enjoyed, the two main guys. So you got Marco Bricka and younger Madders, Timmy. So I enjoyed the contrast between them two guys. Best of friends, but one's very much on that road life or on the cusp of it. The other one's very straight and narrow. And the scene, I don't want to spoil it, but there's one scene where both of them, they're linking a couple sweet ones, and the way they're treating one another is so funny. Is it one of them? Look at this.
That reminded of American Psycho. People might not get that. Might not get that reference.
That's
but
a great film.
But I'll put it on the screen so you know
that's
what
a great
I'm talking
film.
about. But yeah,
That's a
you
great
reminded
film.
me. I thought the humor translated very well.
Yeah,
I
agreed.
understood. It may not translate as well to people who are not familiar with that type of slang, obviously.
Yeah.
But I felt the times the film wanted to be funny, it was funny. Another thing that I think was good and I enjoyed was the relatability. Obviously, it took you back to the times you were in school on the back of the bus.
Yeah,
You
of
might
course,
see
of course,
guys
of
coming
course.
on, you thinking,
Yeah,
shit.
of course.
To
You're
the
bringing back bad memories for me now. Wow.
Have you been robbed before, Adam, on the back of a bus? Are you sure? I have.
100%. Have you
100%.
come close once, but my boy ducked and left me? Yeah. So I was left by myself. Yeah.
Raw,
Pussy,
man's letting you naming names.
Yeah. Okay.
This movie is obviously trying to cover knife crime, gun crime. Unfortunately, the sad reality is many of us from this type of area know people, have friends that have lost their life to gun crime and knife crime. So the relatability from the school life to the good parts and the bad parts will be able to touch people from
Yeah, I
from
agree.
that
But
life.
you know what? So obviously, before we move on to what we didn't like, I think what you just said there, yeah. So the relatability and the sad truth of knife crime, gun culture, everything like that. Unfortunately, where we're from, we've seen it or we've been around it. We've known people who've been involved in it or whatever. As us, this sort of area, as a target audience, I think some of the message, unfortunately, sadly, will get lost. And I feel like in other areas of the country, different demographics, the middle class, for example, I think it'd be really important for them to see this movie because it'll give them a much better understanding of what goes on and what happens.
So let's go into stuff that we didn't like as
sure,
much. Let's get into it. I'll kick it off.
Yep.
This is a nitpick actually. This is not really a criticism of the film because I think that's unfair. But one thing, because this came out quite close to the time that Top Boy came out and had a lot of the same actors in it.
Yep.
Michael Ward, Madder's older brother, a couple of other actors, even Hakeem was in there as well. So that kind of threw me off a little bit, but that's a nitpick. I can accept that. Anything else that you didn't enjoy?
I would have liked to have seen more Rapman, have more of his narrative,
Okay.
if I'm honest, because you think that feature length for his film was like hour and 40, hour 45, something like that. Rapman was on the screen, 5-6 times, a minute and a bit of times. Not much Rapman. I would have liked a lot more of that, to be honest with you.
I did feel that obviously this film takes many turns over the course of the hour and 15 minutes, however long it is. I felt some of the turns were quite predictable in terms of who I thought was going to die at certain points.
That's interesting because you've never seen Blue Story, like so I have. So I was expecting, I knew what was going to happen.
Okay.
So that's interesting that you feel that way.
I would say another thing I didn't particularly like, I'd say the first half of the film, the story was quite smooth.
Yeah.
I was enjoying it. Obviously,
Flowed nice.
there's a pivotal moment in the film where everything changes after that point. And I think after that, it just seemed like scene after scene, and it felt kind of disjointed. It just felt like things kind of just happening. It didn't feel as smooth a story as the beginning. The second half of the film, I felt where was the pivotal moment to kind of underpin the message of the film, it just kind of turned into cat and mouse game of who's going to shoot who kind of thing. So I felt in that whole last third of the film, it kind of just lost itself within that. One thing I'll just jump back to quickly that I enjoyed about the film, I felt like in the moments that the film wanted to be emotional, I think it done it quite well, and the scenes that were quite gritty, showing certain depths, I thought that they were quite brutal at times.
So I agree with on the grittiness. On the emotional part, I think they could have really ramped up a little bit more and try and just really narrow home the stupidity of all this knife crime.
Consequences.
Yeah, man, they could have really played on that a bit more.
Well, fair enough. Is there anything else that you didn't enjoy?
So I think it'll probably lead into our discussion because obviously the film's a lot of bits about gang culture, knife crime, anything like that. So one thing I didn't like about it, but obviously being from Croydon, there's a lot of negativity and bad stigma around Croydon. Sometimes it annoys me a little bit, because I just think people just need to relax a little bit. It's not that deep. Like Croydon ain't that bad. It's like just give us a break kind of thing. But I feel like they played a little bit too much of the stereotype, and I think that's gonna go against them. Times they were a bit too strong with the language. They were a bit over the top with the behavior. I think when you're from the culture and you're from the scene and you get an opportunity like this to make a big movie, and let's not play around. This is gonna be one of the biggest UK movies for the scene. Yeah, definitely. You've got a responsibility and opportunity to influence people who aren't from that culture and from that diversity, and I just feel like they've missed that a little bit. I feel like now all certain demographics are going to see this and going to think, you know what, Sheila? That's exactly what happens. That's why he's not going to that school. I feel like they had an opportunity here to educate people who don't know about anything.
So what do you feel like should have been educated?
The stupidity of knife crime and gun culture and all of that. I feel like, and I could be wrong here, this is my perception, but watching this movie, I feel like, again, like I said, the middle class would watch this and they'll get more of an education. Rapman says it himself at the start of the movie. He's like, I ain't glorifying this, but I'm going to show you what this is all about, why these kids are doing this. So he's telling himself, he's telling people that don't know about it, he wants to show them. I think we need to be educating these kids who have the knives in the first place. And that's the bit where I think we missed it a little bit. When I say we didn't ramp up the emotion enough, didn't show the consequence enough. There was people in that cinema laughing at stupid things. Do you know what I mean? It's true, they were laughing when people are dying, all shit. They're laughing at that, thinking it's jokes, calling man moist and all this and whatever. They need to come away from it thinking, do you know what? This life is dumb. Not come around. I've got kids fighting in the cinema after this because they think it's funny. It's not funny. Like when your little brother gets stabbed up, you're not gonna laugh, and that's what it is. That is what it is. It's a joke.
I agree. Like, I think they did show some consequences, but just from the perspective of those that are directly responsible. But obviously, there's more to it than that. It's not just them; it's the families. Obviously, they showed the mum, and that scene was quite tough, even though it lasted only seconds. But also, as you said, speaking about why they pick up the knives in the first place, and I felt like, not to compare, but Top Boy did a much better job of showing why especially the young ones feel like they have to carry a knife. You know. So after a discussion, we're gonna get into our scores. How are we gonna rate Blue Story out of 10? Adam, I'm gonna come to you first. How would you score Blue Story?
So, I gotta think of this as a movie and not just because I want to support it, like you said as well. I was really looking forward to this. Overall, I have enjoyed this movie. I did enjoy it. I found a lot of it funny. I thought the narrative was really good. Yes, I'm a bit disappointed that I feel like the message could have been delivered in a better way, but maybe it was lost on me. Good performances. Great to see something from the scene having a big opportunity like this. But like I said, overall I enjoyed it. I'm going to give it a 7 out of 10.
That's a fair score, I reckon. I enjoyed the film also. Good. I think Rapman has to be applauded.
Of course.
Aside from anything else, because you know a lot of people are trying to figure out a way how to reach the youngers, how to reach the youth. Obviously, knife crime is a very current and present issue. Obviously, you've had the whole putting the thing on the chicken and chip boxes and all of that.
So kind of stupidity.
Obviously, he stepped up to the plate and tried to deliver a message. So for the attempt, he must be applauded. I agree with you. I think the message could have been delivered in a more effective way. I think people of a younger generation, people of an older generation like us, I won't disclose how old we are, older generation like us, I think we will grasp the message. We've already grasped the message before this film even came out.
Of course.
But for the younger generation, it may be more difficult for them to grasp it because there's a lot of stuff happening on the screen. It's easy for them to get lost and just get lost in the whole action aspect of it and who's getting who and applauding at certain scenes and laughing at certain scenes, which we've already discussed. First half I thought was better than the second half. The second half I thought was a tad bit disjointed, but overall I enjoyed it. And it was a good first directorial debut for Rapman. I'm looking forward to see what he does next. And my score out of 10 would also be a 7 out of 10. And that has been our review for Blue Story. I hope you enjoyed our review. If you've enjoyed it, did you enjoy it?
Of course.
Did you enjoy Blue Story?
Oh.
Did you enjoy it? What did you think of it? How would you rate it? As always, make sure you like, share, and subscribe. I've been your boy Miles.
I've been your boy Adam.
We've been the Agents of S.C.R.E.E.N, and make sure you stay tuned for the next video coming very, very soon.
Real soon.
Until next time, peace.